Hi, welcome to Box on the Box, Rock and Celluloid, Bob Brack for short. I'm over Box. So, bit of a live review. This weekend, just gone, I attended the Stonedead Festival for the first time. This is a kind of smaller level festival held down in Newark Showground. It's been running since 2018. Had a gap for COVID. And yeah, I just kept hearing good things about it, and KK's Priest got announced, and I was like, right. Said to my mate, do you fancy going? And he'd been before. So we got the tickets, we booked an Ibis hotel. You could get picked up from that, because we just went in on the Saturday by bus for a reasonable price of £8 per person. The ticket was 55 quid, I think. So for 63 quid, I saw 9 bands, got ferried in and out of the site, and on a Friday night I had a very pleasant evening in Lincoln, although it was a bit hairy down in the centre of town. Later on, had a few beers. You've not been to Lincoln, it's pretty nice, quite like York. So anyway, as soon as I got to the site, it was actually raining. We had to queue for a little bit, but we got in. But the first thing you noticed was just how well set up it was. You basically got the stage, you got the sound desk, a video screen at the back, 2 video screens either side on the stage. And the sort of circumference area was surrounded by beer merchandise, lots of different food vendors. We were pretty hungry when we got in, so we got like a metal toasty. There was a toasty shop with Iron Maiden style writing for the toasties. It was very nice, reasonably priced as well. Pints for £5.80. I had 6 of those. So yeah, the weather kind of blew hot and cold, but it got there in the end. So what was the bands like? What says the organisation was fantastic. Getting bands on and off the stage, dealing with their requirements, all seemed to run really smoothly. I was hugely impressed. The sound was excellent for each band. Obviously some of it was better than others, but it's still a standard. Congrats, to the sound people. And the lighting was all very good. No trouble at the festival, just very mellow. So the opening band with a Hot 1-2, this was a band that had kind of won a poll competition to open. They always do that at Stonedead. And I thought these guys did well. They'd obviously really thought about their set. They put a lot of effort in the performance. They bought their t-shirts with them, their CD, and really looking to seize their moment. They kind of played, so I call it good time kind of classic rock. There's a bit of AC/DC in there, I think. Kind of reminded me a bit like a band like Gun and things like that. The frontman was good. All the band performed on stage well. They were tight, so they did a really good job. Got things going really well. So the next band up was quite a hotly tipped band called Tail Gunner. I checked these out online a while ago, and I like the sound of them, and I found myself enjoying these quite a lot. They play really, really traditional heavy metal. I actually thought they were American, I've got to be honest. I just heard the music and I thought they must be a new wave of traditional metal. American, but they're not the British. It seems like they've had a couple of lineup changes since they started. But they've got their own Matt Guns for Hand, another EP called Crash Dive before that. It's clear where the influences were from. It's Maiden, Motorway, Priest, Halloween, stuff like that. The front man was kind of channeling Bruce Dickinson, 1982, like that. They all had sort of a black leather effect pants on with baseball boots, like old school thrash bands. In about 83, 84. So I really liked all that. The rhythm section was very tight. The rhythm guitars were tight. There was a couple issues with the guitar sounds. I think that their pedal was kind of DI'd through the PA. I'm not sure about this. So the guitar sound wasn't quite as sharp as it was for other bands, but it worked fine. They was just very metal. It was all about playing fast metal, being metal. So that was really good. My only criticism was the guitarist kind of did a solo spot, which, I think if you're doing like a short set that's like 40 minutes, you're better off playing a song. They did a cool cover of Don't Talk to Strangers at the end, which worked well. So they seem to be getting a lot of traction. I just went on their Facebook, so I've been going down the rabbit hole there, and they're clearly very efficient at social media, whether they do it themselves or they've got friends helping them as well. So a young band, I'll know all this. I think that's something. There's a sort of lesson there for other bands. You've really got to engage with social media. You've got to embrace streaming, and through that you might get a few physical sales, but that's really where it's at. I think they'll go from strength to strength. The next band was The Bites. I've got to confess, this wasn't really grabbing me. I went over to see a mate. I was chatting to him. We were watching, listening a bit, but it wasn't really my thing. They were more sort of they sounded more sleazy, sort of glammy American rock to me. But they seem to be going down well, and there's people enjoying them. Then you had Bonafide. This was a band I hadn't heard of, must confess, a Swedish band, been around a while. They were very much in the AC/DC sort of style. They had a good sound, they were solid. The guitarist frontman had a good voice. The backing vocals were really good actually on this band. They sat really well. And I had a song called Fill Your Head With Rock, which was very catchy. So it was kind of, they were doing kind of meat and potatoes, AC/DC style rock. The main guys had an AC/DC patch on. So really the sort of four opening bands, was kind of just happening to be there, sort of check them out. I think that's quite interesting, you get a beer in your hand, you have a wander around and watch a bit of music that you don't know. And that was good. And Crusher Jewel was sort of coming out between each band and doing a bit of part, which was very funny. And that really added to the kind of nice vibe of the day. But the other main reason why was because Eclipse were announced. They're a band I really like for a good while now. So my friend and I were very excited about them, and when they came on, everything went up several notches. No disrespect to the other bands, but the level of musicianship, there was a kind of notch up there. They got a fantastic guitar player in Magnus Henriksson. He was by far the best guitar player of the day, with a really strong vibrato and tone and a ripping rhythm sound. The drummer was excellent as well, real showman. The bass player was good. And then Eric Martinson, excellent voice. His voice was really good for all the tracks, and a good front man as well. What was interesting was on a couple of numbers he took his guitar off and just did the front man thing. I was really impressed with that. They went down really well. There's quite a lot of interest for them. I think there's quite a few people there. Again, they're another band like Tailgun, have been starting to get more streams on Spotify, more traction as they call it. But Eclipse are now 7 albums in properly, or coming up to 7. And actually 2 albums before they kind of changed their style. So they were really good. My only disappointment with their set is I've been sort of into the band since to the Bleeding Scream album, so their early albums kind of have a bit heavier and have more sort of Whitesnake 80s style riffing and stuff like that. But they tended to focus more on tracks off albums which although really good, I'm just not quite as into. But clearly they were playing stuff that has got a lot of streams and all went down well, like Viva La Victoria, which I really like. But Black Rain was a great track to play. So really a great track, sort of deeper cut off their Monumentum album. But it was just an excellent show. It was kind of pissing down with rain for a bit, and then it cleared up. And Eric Martinson was very witty with the crowd. It was good rapport. Just say all the bands totally from the off tried to get the crowd going. I think it's a good lesson again for any kind of band. These festivals, you got a small amount of time. You got to get out there and engage with the crowd, get them on your side. You've got to come to them. You can't expect them to come to you. So clips are excellent. Then it's time for another beer, and then we watched Doro's set. I've seen Doro before, but this was really excellent. She had an excellent backdrop. That was the other thing. Each band had a full-size backdrop on the stage. Whether they bought them or whether the festival kind of prints that up for them, I don't know. But she was really good. Obviously, Doro's been around years. She's a great front woman. She's just got pure joy when she's singing this stuff. I'm not massive on a material, but it's done so professionally. A band were excellent. They had a really good sound, really up the metal ante. Things got progressively heavier with this. And her guitarist, there was a guitarist in her band with a Red Flying V, was very good. He was technically very on point as a player. He was probably my second kind of best guitar player of the day. She did the All We Are song. I kind of get muddled up on the lyrics on that, so I find it quite hard to sing along, but anyway, I did do. But the sun was kind of getting a bit earlier in the evening there. 5 o'clock was a nice glow of the sun, and it was just really good. So again, time for another pint, and it was time for Ugly Kid Joe. Now I just had I've got to be honest, I had no expectations about this. I'm like, oh well, it's Ugly Kid Joe playing. Okay, I remember them back in the day. Not my scene. But I've got to be honest, I was so stunningly surprised. Who knew what an excellent set they put together. They've got kind of 3 cuts that we'll all remember. But they just burst out with other songs that I didn't know would work really well. they had, I think, the best sound of the day. The guitars were really tight, the drums a little more natural. Everything was sat back and balanced really nice. And Whitfield Crane was an excellent frontman. Quite kind of witty, kind of cocky, but in a good way. And it got me kind of thinking about Ugly Kid Joe. I was kind of pontificating with my mate, and I was like, the kind of strange band. They sort of came in that era where there's still a kind of hangover of hair metal a bit, but they're kind of doing this goofball sort of slightly comical thing, you know. Not like the Beastie Boys, but not taking it serious. The baseball caps, and you remember they had their big hit when grunge was really popular. Yeah, I just found that quite interesting. And my mate said, "Oh, some of these tracks could almost be Tenacious D in a way." They're kind of heavier than I expected, and they're quite into metal. They did a really good cover of Ace of Spades as well. Again, the weather was really nice at this point. It was a nice vibe. So I found it quite fascinating, you know. The other thing as well, Ugly Kid Joe, of all the bands there, unusually they had actually had the biggest selling album. So Ugly Kid Joe's debut album, Ugly's They Wanna Be, was that one. Sold 2 million copies. It was double platinum, and the EP was as well. So, although like a band like Saxon's got a big legacy, you know, the Ugly Kid Joe would have been used to sort of playing some big size stuff. So it's that a professionalism thing. I think it's that thing where a band comes in and they're really used to doing this. They're total pros and they know what they're doing. I think in the modern era where you've got to get out there and play live. To kind of generate anything, merchandise, streams, whatever, you've got to be good live, and that's the kind of acid test, really. You know, you cannot afford to not be fucking excellent, and Ugly Kid Joe were very good. So next up was the main reason I came. I forsook the pint on this because I didn't want to have to go for a piss, and of course it was KK's Priest. Hilarious sort of metal intro. Which had a sort of video installation and then more patter, and then the band came on to KK came on and did his classic sort of whammy stuff, and I went to Hellfire, Thunderbolt, and things hit it off straight away. Just very metal. It had an excellent show in Newcastle the night before, apparently, and it was a really good show. This naturally, I love the Priest classics the most. Sinner being an absolute gem for me. That sounded phenomenal. Ripper Owens screaming effortlessly, but good choreography on stage with the band. I think it's quite interesting. Is it Tony Newton, the bass player, kind of moves around more, a little more Steve Harris-ish, got a nice clank on his sound. A nice differentiation there from the kind of sound of Ian Hill and his performance style. But there's no point in comparing him to Priest. Really, KK's Priest is a vehicle for KK Downing to play new material, but principally play, that classic Priest stuff. And they played The Ripper, Green Man Alishi, Hell Patrol, which sounded excellent, and Nightcrawler. Those two great clips off Painkiller, and one of the few tracks I really like off them, Juggler as well, they played Burning Hell. I'm not as keen on their own stuff, but it all worked well. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't disappointed. I was chuffed to see him. Great to see KK back. It was just pure metal. So then it was time for sax. I've got to confess, by this point I'm getting a bit older and I was quite tired, and me and my mate, and we'd seen Saxon recently. I'd seen them on tour with Priest at the Leeds Arena, so we just went sat at the back a bit and just took it in for there. A totally polished set from Saxon, as you would expect, playing all the classics, getting the crowd going. The sort of full use of the lights came out here, and a very, very good sound was really good. Glottler's bass drum sound sounded particularly great, and then obviously brought in some of their own kind of pyro and lighting effects, and it all worked really well. It was just seamless, really, the changeover from one band to another. Everything. Most bands were not more, if they were late on stage, it might have been by the odd minute or two. When it finished, we went outside. We just waited 15-20 minutes. We got a bus back, and that was great. So I highly recommend this. I think they've already sold a lot of tickets for next year. I like to wait until I know what bands are on. I've got to confess, when I've looked at previous Stonedead lineups, it hasn't always totally been to my liking, but that's just, my taste. Although they've had some bands like Schenk and Uriah Heep I'm a fan of. But obviously with 3 of the bands on here, I'm big fans of. But like I say, the pleasant surprise Doro and Ugly Kid Joe, you know, a really nice run of bands on this, and an excellent day out, an excellent day of rock and metal. Okay, so remember, share and subscribe. Like I say, if you're thinking of having a metal road trip, rock road trip next year, not been the Stonedead, I highly recommend it. So thanks for checking us out. Bye now.